So guys, today this is the first class for your ASM, which is your advanced web firewall. Some people say it's advanced web. Some people term as ASM. So it's an web application firewall, which is used to protect your layer 7 attack. So in this course, we'll be covering 4 modules. First, we'll be covering WAF. Then we'll be covering DDoS. Then we will be covering API security. And at last, we'll be covering boot defense. So this is not a demo or something. I have given this as a first class free for some people who missed previous demo. From tomorrow, link will be private and you will not able to join until you enrolled. So if you want to enroll, you can call us on this number. Later on, I'll just tell you, these are our 2 numbers. This is my number. This is Hemu's number. So this batch will start from 10 a.m. to 12:30. For today, timing was 11 a.m. But from tomorrow, batch timing would be 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And duration of this whole course would be around 2 months. So don't worry, it will be covering your basics of load balancer also. And then we'll start with WAF. So we'll be covering here, it's a live batch, plus you will get hands-on training. We'll be doing all concepts, theory plus practical, plus you will get lifetime recording access on our portal and study materials. Also, I'll be giving you interview preparation. You can call me Monday to Friday, 7 to 8 for any doubts, and you will be added in our WhatsApp group. And what are the benefits of that WhatsApp group? That will remain forever. And we have people from every industry nowadays. People are from Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad. They are from Dubai. Everywhere we have people, so you can refer each other also. So now why this is critical? So nowadays you know that lot of companies are focusing on cyber security. And in cyber security, one of the most demanding technology which has been arrived is called WAF. Some people say it's an application security. So this is a huge demand in market. And this is the first certification, or you can say after like, which will make you expert in application level attacks. So in market, if I talk about demand, it's a huge demand. So you should do, everyone should know at least one firewalls with one cybersecurity technology. And we'll be covering from basics. So here my approach will be, I'll be covering your design part, implementation part, plus operations. So that you can work in your production environment and you can clear any interview. So when I talk about this web application firewall, DDoS, API security, boot defense, this is total suit for an engineer to become good in cyber security. See, cyber security is not a small thing. This is one of the part which is there in cyber security. Like we have network security, then we have application security, then we have data security. So this WAF comes under your application layer. And some people say it's called application security. So this module will help you to protect and to understand what are layer 7 attacks and how you can protect. So we'll be covering everything related to OWASP top 10. So we'll be performing live attacks and we will see how F5 can protect it. And nowadays, you know, attacks are becoming criticals. Lot of attacks are coming in market and AI is coming into picture. So cybersecurity will become more useful. If you're good in cybersecurity with network security, then your demand will be huge. People come to me like, Vidit sir, do I need to know firewalls, routing, switching, WAF? I say yes. Nowadays, people have demand who is good in multiple skills. It's not about expertise, but your base should be good. If your base is good, then you can cover everything. So when I talk about concept and other things, so we'll go with hands-on exposure in whole this training, where we'll be covering different vulnerabilities. When I talk about vulnerability, you need to understand two concepts. First is vulnerability, or some people say attacks. So vulnerabilities are nothing but a weakness in your application layer. Let's say you are in a company, so you have some weakness. Maybe someone is good in firewall, maybe someone is good in load balancer, but your weakness is you are not good in WAF. Same way, when you deploy any application, so application, see, you need to understand the architecture first, then you need to understand how WAF is placed. So when I talk about architecture of our application layer, so it works on three-tier architecture. First layer is app layer, or you can say web layer. Then after web layer, it's an app layer. And the third layer is called your database layer. So wherever your application is hosted, whether it's google.com, aws.com, or any big website, so they are calculated or divided into three layer: web layer, where your original application, after that inside it, there is an application layer, then there is a database layer. And before that, we will place our WAF. And before that, we will place our firewalls. That is called perimeter layer firewalls. And then you have a router or a DDoS. After that, you have ISP routers. Then you have a client coming from internet. See, whenever you go for any interview, so you need to understand where your device needs to be placed. That is the first question which will be asked. Because if you don't understand the architecture, then you will not able to deploy any device and you will not able to answer your customer. So every time, whenever you deploy any devices, first understand why I need to deploy. So in this course, I'll be covering whole agenda of WAF, how WAF will protect this layer. Because when you go into market or when you access any URL, the main component which get attacks is layer 7. HTTP attacks, HTTPS, because nowadays every transaction is happening on, or every communication is happening on layer 7. So WAF will protect from layer 7 attacks. So WAF is nothing but it's a web application firewall device which can protect your application from layer 7 attacks. So there can be layer 4, layer 3 attacks, but WAF works at layer 7. So here I'll be covering your real life scenarios also, and I'll make sure that you will get certified also after this course. That is my main agenda and highlight of this course. So if I talk about overview, why you need to be good in ASM or why you need to be good in WAF. Nowadays, guys, people are using internet. They are going more into digital world. They are going more into API based application. REST API applications are coming. AI ML based applications are coming. Cloud based applications are being used. So there should be one device which can protect from all this attack. Nowadays, this is a best certification in a market where it will help you to understand architecture, understanding your HTTP layer in depth, how different URL works. When you access any URL, what is the inside it? How ASM will protect from different attacks. So this course, we will understand how to secure your application. So your ASM, we will be deploying in such a way that it can secure your end application. So you need to understand in your network architecture where you have to deploy it. And if you need to be good in market, you need to be good in WAF. And the target audience, which is in this course, which will be, I will focusing on installation. So we'll be covering this course from basics. Like, let's say if in a company, someone says that I have an F5, okay, I have a device called WAF or ASM. That is same. Some people say it's WAF, some people say it's ASM, some people give it a name called advanced WAF. So we'll be covering installation, deployment, fine-tuning, day-to-day maintenance of your WAF. So when I talk about ASM, what is it? You need to understand base of it. So ASM is called your application security manager. That is the word which comes into market. Now, how ASM helps you to protect different application? Is it WAF mandatory? Next question comes into market is it WAF mandatory? So let's draw a topology to understand that. You need to understand why WAF is mandatory in your network architecture or your security architecture. Now let's go by a diagram. Then I'll show you the course content also because this I am treating. So when I talk about WAF, question comes why WAF is mandatory. That is the first question which should come into your mind when you propose this to your customers. First thing, yes, answer is WAF is mandatory. Why? If they can ask you why, first thing, it protects from most of the critical attacks in market that is called SQL injection attacks, cross-site scripting attack. All these attacks will be covering in detail. So simple way I can say is that it is OWASP top 10 attacks. It can protect from OWASP top 10 attacks and it will mitigate. Second thing, why WAF is necessary. When you have a tradition firewalls mostly works on layer 3, layer 4. Palo, Alto, Checkpoint, Fortigate works on layer 7, but they does not have much capability to protect or works at application layer. So WAF is totally working on your layer 7 and where the modern attacks occurs because that is an web layer, right? So modern attacks, and that is why it is crucial for securing web application. That is why I'm saying it's called web application firewall to secure your web applications. When I say web application, it works on your HTTP layer, or you can say in a language called layer 7. So this component where nowadays you have heard about components, right? There are few components like digital forensics. There is a term which is going on digital forensics, incident response, compliance. Nowadays in banking environment, this web component is mandatory. Very, very critical nowadays. If you ever work on cybersecurity field, WAF will be demanded by every banking environment. Why? Because of its support, because of its technology. It's in demand. because it works at layer 7. Modern attacks, API security. It provides DDoS security. Multiple component under one umbrella. So it can help you to detect compliance, risk and compliance. Nowadays, GRC is in huge demand. Whenever auditor comes into picture, they will say, is WAF in place? If you say no, then they will highlight a risk. Why you have not implemented WAF? So WAF is also provides you detailed login method. It will identify suspicious traffic. It will help you to identify whether traffic is good or bad. Attack patterns. Palo Alto firewall can also protect from attacks, but it does not go under application layer before. It also provides you AI ML based behavior analysis. It provides you behavior analysis. It will detect whether user is normal or not. It allows you to block geo blocking. Based on geo blocking, I want to block some location, rate limiting. Whenever there is some performance issues, see why DDoS comes into picture. DDoS attacks are mostly performed on that organization which is more competitive. Its value is more, so that they can attack their website so that normal user cannot attack. See, normal users wants to access the website, right? I want, someone says Vidit, I want 24 into 7 availability of my application. That is fine, I can give you, but that application is secure. Availability is one thing. Security is a second thing which comes into market. Nowadays, WAF is mandatory where? Whenever your device is. Second question comes where WAF should be placed and for which application. WAF should be always placed to protect public facing application. If you have internal application, then it is not necessary that you need a WAF. So WAF, wherever your application is exposed to internet, there you need a WAF device. That is mandatory. Either it's an e-commerce, either it is banking portal, either it's government services, or you can say SaaS based application. So WAF is used to protect public facing application. Whenever I say public, any application that is exposed to internet, WAF will act as a shield. Nowadays, a lot of compliance standards are there: PCI DSS, GDPR, HIPAA for healthcare application, for PCI DSS for credit card applications, banking application. So compliance requirement make sure that their WAF is mandatory. Modern WAF. Nowadays, machine learning is coming into picture. Zero-day threats are coming into picture. So AI and behavior analysis is also provided by WAF. It's a future. Everyone is using AI, but does it know how to detect anomalies? Anomalies are nothing but a vulnerability or zero-day threats. We know how to secure our network. We create firewall policies. We do routing switching. But do you understand application layer, how it works? Now, let's say I have a network security architecture. I am a security architect. Okay, in a company, one of the company called XYZ. Now, company says that customer comes to me, hey, Vidit, I want to place my WAF in my current architecture. Let's in current architecture, I have internet, I have router, I have DDoS, I have perimeter firewall, then I have switch, then I have multiple servers. Now, one of the customer came into me, hey Vidit, I want to place WAF in my current architecture. So where you should place that and how data flows. Because WAF role is protecting your web application, whether it's an AWS environment, Azure environment. In every company, your WAF is required, mostly in e-commerce website, in your banking application. So let's go further and understand where WAF should be placed in a network design architecture. Let's say I have a users. Okay, I have multiple users who are coming through internet. After that, there is a firewall. I am making firewall here. Then let's say there is a load balancer, normal load balancer. I'm not talking about WAF right now. Then there is a component called web servers. I told about three-tier architecture, application server, and then it is called DB servers. Because this all three components work together to provide you a web page called google.com. Simple. Now, what will happen is at this layer, when a company or a user wants to access any website, let's say https sianets.com, your WAF will be placed behind this firewall. And then load balancer comes into picture. That is a critical thing which you need to understand. WAF role is not to provide you load balancing feature. It provides you. But if you are a good security architect, then WAF traffic will come from firewall. WAF will only analyze whether it's a good traffic or a bad traffic. If it's a good traffic, it will forward to load balancer to load balance. So it can be HTTP traffic or HTTPS traffic. Then it will be integrated with your SOC or SIM, where they will analyze your traffic patterns. But map comes into picture where you need to protect your layer 7 attacks. So traffic flow will be from internet, firewall would be second component. Third component will be WAF, which will help you to detect any malicious traffic, any violations happening. If your request is illegal, it will block at this layer. Otherwise, it will forward the request to your load balancer. Then there is a component called web. This is called three-tier architecture of your application. That is critical. Now, what are the core functionality of ASM? We understood the diagram. Now, features, does it provides? Because that is mandatory features of F5 ASM. First, it will do layer 7 traffic inspection. Okay, that is the first component which provides you ASM. So it can inspect all your HTTP traffic or HTTPS traffic. So how it works? Let's say I have a client, traffic is coming, and then we have a server. So there where our application will be hosted. Let's say sianets.com. Now, HTTP works on your request and response. So request will be sent from client. Now, how ASM will inspect it? So there is a concept called virtual server. Whenever we deploy any F5, there is a first layer component which comes into picture is virtual IP address or a virtual server. Virtual server is nothing but an IP address of your website where your original client will send a request. Your traffic will come to VIP. VIP is nothing but an IP address of your website plus port number. Let's say it can be 80 or 443. So when it comes to WAF, it will analyze your whole request. It will do scanning of your whole HTTP traffic to detect any malicious pattern. So it can be doing by your attack signatures, behavior analysis, and then there are different layers where it can detect whole your malicious traffic analysis. So it works on two layers. People will ask you this question: positive security model versus negative security model. Is ASM your negative security model or a positive security model? Whenever we talk about WAF, this question will be arrive. So ASM works initially at negative security model, slowly it works as a positive security model. When I talk about positive security model, it will only allow your known good traffic based on your policy which you have configured. And your negative security model is opposite. It will block only known bad traffic using your attack signatures and other things. So attack signature is a component which comes under your negative security model. So when I talk about this, traffic always comes from internet, let's say, then it will go to your virtual server, which is hosted on load balancer. Now ASM comes into picture. So in ASM, we configure layer 7 policy. So ASM provides you security policy management. So that layer 7 policy will be attached to your virtual server because your all traffic is coming on front end. And your layer 7 policy will be applied on this virtual server because this is the main component where your all client, multiple users are connecting. So virtual IP is nothing but a front end IP address which will accept your traffic from internet. So I need to protect attacks here only. If traffic is good, then it will come to your servers. If traffic is not good, then it will block at this layer by layer 7 policy. So we have ready-made templates, we have manual templates. So ASM uses your predefined templates and custom template to secure your application. And accordingly, it will help you to detect your patterns. That is the whole agenda, which I will be covering later on, but I am telling you the features. First feature we talked about, it will help you to inspect your traffic at layer 7. Second, it's a combination of your positive versus negative. Fourth component is very critical. It helps you to detect threats. So threat detection and mitigations. When I talk about threat detection and mitigation, it can block your SQL injection attack. So SQL injection attacks are nothing but an attack which will focus to attack your database layer. So if you have watched my previous demo, I covered one lab where I shown you SQL injection attacks, how it works. So here we will covering different attacks. Then there is a cookie tampering attacks. What is cookie? Anyone can tell me what is cookie and how someone can get access to cookie? If someone get access to cookie, will I able to access my website? Let's say you are a user with it, then I have a user Kapil, then I have a user Amit, then I have a user Mukesh. All are logged into their website, iciicibank.com. Now Mukesh is a hacker or Amit is a hacker. If Amit is a hacker and he got access to your current login page, let's say Vidit has logged in into HDFC Bank website. Okay, simple. And someone man in middle got cookie access. So cookie is nothing but a bit stored in your browser. If you get access to the cookie, then you can get web access of your web page. So cookie tampering attacks also can be protected by ASM. Brute force attack. What happened in brute force attack? Do you know after 3 attempts, your account gets locked? Why? Anyone? When I talk about brute force attack, can anyone tell me what does brute force attack means? Mr. Girish, please unmute yourself. Girish K. If
Now,
I talk about brute force attack, what does it means?
it means that user tries to log in with a multiple combination with the same login to in order to get the uh, you know hack the website or get the password correct password through dictionary.
Excellent. So basically, I can say that there is a website called iciicibank.com and someone does not know password. Someone got an access. They will try combination of your username and password. So nowadays, dark web is there. So dark web, they get an different, you know that multiple Gmails get hacked. Multiple Facebook accounts are getting hacked. Twitter accounts are getting hacked. And their data is stored in dark web. So they try to collect multiple username and combination of password and try to get access to website. But if you have a mechanism that there is a policy or on a website you have configured a brute force protection, then no one can hack your website because you have said that if someone tries to attempt more than 3 passwords, their account will get logged automatically. So it helps. Nowadays, people are giving CAPTCHA challenges. Why? Does someone knows what is CAPTCHA? To protect from bots. Lot of human bots are coming into picture nowadays. What are bots? Automatic attacks. Bots are nothing but a robot type of bots. There are good bots, there are bad bots. So bot will try to become like a human. It will perform automated attacks to gain access of your website. My main agenda is to protect my application. So in that case, nowadays, there is a mechanism which WAF has there that how to detect whether you are human or bot. So if WAF needs to detect that, then it will send a CAPTCHA challenge. Nowadays, you are seeing that CAPTCHA challenge is coming into picture. From where? That is provided by your WAF layer. Why? To mitigate your automated threats. Compliance report is also helpful. And your WAF can be deployed. Very good advantage it has. You can be deployed in on-premises, virtual environment, and cloud environment. And it will work seamlessly with other products. Now, can we understand like how traffic comes to WAF and how it does? Let's say simplified traffic flow. Let's discuss about that. I have multiple clients. I have a firewall. Then I have an F5 device, which is called WAF, where I have configured a virtual server for Sianets.com. And I have given one IP called 192.168.1.60. Then I have multiple servers. Server 1, server 2, server 3, where your original application is hosted. I can say web app. Okay, at this layer, web app is hosted, where your original application. Now, what will happen in this case? So your website will have one public IP because this environment is called DMZ environment. What is DMZ zone? DMZ zone is mostly used or called as an environment which is separate from your internal architecture. That is a separate environment for your applications which are exposed to internet. So that is why mostly WAF is placed in a DMZ environment so that it does not disturb your internal network. So there will be definitely a public IP of this website. Okay. So in firewall, what will happen? In firewall, there will be a public NAT which will be done. And that NAT is called your destination NAT. And you will need a security policy also in a firewall. So netting will be done from this public IP to this private IP address. And there is policy also needed on firewall. In this, your source would be your client IP address. Destination would be your virtual IP address. So these two things are required on your firewall. Once firewall send the traffic to this virtual server. So now client send a request to your web application sianets.com, which is hosted on these three servers. So first, it will provide you availability 24 into 7, load balancing, plus security also in one device. Can Palo Alto provides you load balancing? No. So WAF provides you load balancing feature also, plus security also with it. So it can now traffic reaches to WAF. Now WAF task would be intercept. Intercept the traffic. Before sending traffic to the load servers, it will intercept to understand what is good traffic, what is bad traffic. Based on attack signature mechanism, based on your behavior analysis, based on your security policy rules. So there is a security policy which will be called, and that will understand whether this is genuine traffic or illegal. If it's an illegal traffic, WAF will block. So it will intercept the request and analyze the request based on your attack signatures, behavior heuristics, and security policy rules. So if request is valid, then it will forward to servers directly. If request is malicious, then it will block at this layer and it will send a custom error page. So visual diagram also I will draw for one of the client. Let's say someone wants to access HTTPS website coming from internet, then going to your ASM and behind ASM there is a database layer and there is an web server layer. So ASM before forwarding the traffic, then there will be your server. So web server layer have combination of different server which are hosting your application. But before that, it will do three things. It will detect attacks. If someone is smart, it has an attack detection mechanism. It has an inspection mechanism. It will filter your traffic end to end, both request and response traffic, and policy enforcement. Strict policy enforcement is done. If it is not compliance, then it will block the traffic. That is how traffic flows when we talk about ASM. Now, how F5 detects malicious traffic? How F5 will differentiate good traffic or bad traffic? That is the second question which comes into mind. How F5 ASM or WAF understand whether traffic is good or bad? Anyone? So it uses multi-layered approach, guys. It is not like one mechanism is there to determine traffic is good or bad. It will use multi-layered approach. So it have signature-based detections, which will help to detect whether request has some malicious traffic. It will use your behavior analysis. Today we will study little bit on, for 5 minutes, I want to tell you about AI, ML, and behavior analysis because that is the next need in the market. They need devices that can detect. So first thing, when I talk about attack signature breakdown, so breakdown they uses this three approach to detect whether traffic is good or bad. First thing, attack signature matching. When I talk about attack signature matching, it has a database. By default, when you deploy ASM, you will get database of your signatures, which will identify your known threats. So known threats are SQL injection. That is the biggest attack which is happening in market today. Cross-site scripting is another attack which is happening. Then we have command injection, remote file. Each incoming request, when it comes to ASM, it will be scanned using this signature database. Signatures are nothing but it has pattern. If it's a valid pattern, then it is good. If it's not a valid pattern, it will block. That is how attack signature matching does. Now I want to like most of you do have understand that behavior analysis. What does behavior analysis means? Heuristic. Can anyone tell me what how ASM detects whether it will block traffic based on behavior analysis? So behavior analysis are like unusual request. Let's say I have a colleague called Anshul. Anshul always log into a website or comes to office from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. from last 1 year, 2 years. But after 2 years, I have seen a weird pattern. Someone logged in or Anshul logged in at 3 a.m. and some unusual requests are coming. Unusual request means multiple requests are coming at 3 a.m. to my web application. So will it be a usual behavior or an unusual? Anyone? That is called behavior analysis attack. Someone is logging regularly at this time, but unfortunately, someone logs in at weird time when office is closed. So what is its intention? Is intention it to hack something? Suspicious traffic. So this all deals with your hacking terms. And this comes under your WAF comes under your detection mode. Mitigate plus detect. Prevent, mitigate, detect. Whenever we talk about cybersecurity, these are the three terms. You should know the device should detect, how it should detect attack, how it should prevent detect. So your whole cybersecurity devices, whether it's an endpoint device, whether it's an SIM, whether it's an ASM, whether it's a SOAR device, it works in this two mechanism, detect plus prevent. How a device detect and how it prevents. suspicious parameters. Someone is deploying suspicious parameters. They are accessing some parameters which never access. Now, third component which comes into, so before that behavior analysis, what will happen is I'll draw a diagram for you. How malicious traffic diagram is there. So I have a client, I have, let's say, vulnerability scanner, VAPT tool is also there, which is integrated. Now I have an ASM, which is I have deployed. Now it has two things. First, allow traffic. If traffic is good, then it will allow traffic, otherwise malicious traffic. Two traffic, right? Malicious traffic, which is illegal, and second traffic is legal. So let's say it's a web app server, web application server. Now ASM uses multiple technologies, which I told you, to detect whether traffic is good or bad. First, it will check your request against attack signature database. Second, it has a behavior analysis engine. So I'll tell you how it detects AI and ML attacks also. Behavior analysis engine. Then you have security policy enforcement. Like what type of URLs I want to allow, what type of file types I want to allow. That comes under your security policy enforcement. Then you have other term which is called board protection, where I was talking about CAPTCHA challenge, JavaScript challenge. So these are the four technologies where it detects your traffic. When I talk about security policy enforcement, you can have policy created in such a way that it will have a check. You can allow or disallow some URLs which are legal. You can allow cookie. You can allow file types and parameters. That we will cover later. That is basically on your application. Now, before going into board protections, how board protection and captcha works, let's talk about behavior analysis. What is behavior analysis is a critical term. In an introduction session, you should know that. So when I talk about behavior analysis, ASM will observe legitimate traffic first. So it has a learning process. So ASM, whenever we talk about, there is a term called learning engine. That is a baseline profile. So it learns how many URLs have been accessed so far in a particular. Whenever you deploy WAF, it will check all the traffic, like how many URLs are accessed, what are the HTTP methods which are being used, parameter name, session pattern, user agent. So what are the patterns which are used in sessions? So it has a learning phase where it will detect, it will, like let's say I am going into one of the company called HCL. So our security guard is there, right? Who knows me, who does not know me. He will detect my behavior when at what time I am coming, when what time I am going it. So same way WAF has a learning phase where it will check how many URLs have been accessed, what are the typical methods being used. Methods are nothing but get, post, that are the methods. What are the parameter names, types which are being used, and what type of sessions are there. So once this learning baseline has been observer, you worked as an observer. This baseline behavior is built, second term come into picture is anomaly detection. First, it will build your baseline behavior. Now, anomaly detection comes into picture. When I talk about anomaly detection, ASM will monitor deviations. Can anyone tell me deviations? Let's say you are working in IT company. Your manager says that I don't want any deviations from the process. There is a fixed process. If you deviate, then you will get fined by a customer. That is called deviations. See, these terms no one will be covering. So my main agenda is to make you expert till cyber. Think like an hacker and protect accordingly. For protecting attack, you need to be thinking like an hacker. Otherwise, you cannot protect your attacks. That is why you need to understand what is threat, how attacks are coming nowadays. So behavior analysis, how ASM perform this. Can firewall do it? No. Firewall does not have a learning engine. It will not give me a list of URL which are being accessed. It will not give me what are the HTTP methods which are being allowed. So when I talk about anomaly detection, so there are baseline is defect now. Deviation means security guard will detect unexpected parameters. Abnormal request means too many requests are coming from a user in a short time. Unusual sequence of page access. A request from suspicious or unknown user agent. They are using some browsers which they have never used. So that is how it detects your unknown attacks, anomaly detections. So after that, once it has detected deviation, then there is a concept called threat scoring. When I talk about threat scoring, ASM will assign a threat score to each request. Like it will check how many deviations are coming from the baseline. Presence of suspicious patterns, like payloads are coming with encoded payloads. Previously, it was not coming with encoded payloads. IP reputations, geolocation, whether previously geolocation was India, now it's coming from Chennai, it's coming from, sorry, China, it's coming from different location. So it will assign a threat score. So based on that, finally, it will block your request. It will challenge your user with CAPTCHA to detect whether you are human or bot. Then it will log your event for future analysis. That is called digital forensic, where you do postmortem. So ASM has a feature, or a WAF has a feature of continuously learning. So whenever there is a new user behavior pattern, whenever there is an evolving attack techniques or changing in application structure, it will adapt accordingly. Now, how it detects both an anomaly detection? First of all, can anyone tell me what is bot? So bot is basically, let's talk about bot. Bot is, have you seen that when you go into any website, nowadays you get an automatic questions. What's your name? Your date of birth? Which course you are interested? that are called bots. But are they good or bad? They are good only, right? In cybersecurity, bots are called robots, automated software programs. Nowadays, lot of bots are coming. So you should understand what are the devices which can protect, can firewall protect from bot attacks. So they are automatic software programs that perform tasks over internet without human. This can be helpful or malicious. What are good bots? First, we'll talk about good bots. People say good bots. When I was new into this field, I said that bots are robots, attacks only. I was thinking bots are bad only. But there are good bots also which are coming into picture. Why? Because it will help me to understand the traffic flow, like search engine bot, Google bot. You have one Google bot. That is a website for search engine that will check your website uptime performance. Chat bots that are good bots, where you get automated chat. You are doing for health insurance. Data aggregation bots like weather collection. What is the weather here? Let's say you want to go to Goa. You need to see the weather, news that are good bots. So if I show you boats, how boats look like, just 1 minute. Mm, I'll go to one of the website where I'll show you boats. Can you see this? These are your boat. It will give you all the details. It will give you details whether you want to open saving account. So it will give me details. Chatbot. This is called chatbot. Are they bad? No, that are good. So that are good bots. But what about bad bots? Which is more? Whenever it something good comes, they will make it bad. So malicious bots are something which does harmful or unauthorized activities. Like credential stuffing bots. It can be web scraping bots where they will stall your username and password. Stalling their username and password is one of the boot on login page. That is called credential stuffing bots, web scraping bots. There are bots which are called web scraping, which will steal your content or pricing data from your website. Like we have different competitors. They want to get access to your internal pages to understand what is your pricing schema, how you are operating the market. Spam bots, where it will post your fake comments or messages. DDoS bots, where they will flood your server to make your server offline. There are carding bots, which will test your stolen credit card numbers on e-commerce. So how F5 will detect that bots? It will send a JavaScript challenge. It will send a captcha challenge to detect whether you are human or bot. Then it will have your behavior analysis. So when I talk about behavior analysis in terms of bot, it will detect your mouse movement. Like if you are a human, you will perform mouse movement, right? Either your keyboard movement or mouse movement. If there is no mouse movement or keystroke movement, or there is a script which is running, then it's a bad bot. That is how it does behavior analysis. So how ASM, see, we need to first understand what is attack and how ASM will detect that. First, JavaScript challenge. Second, CAPTCHA challenge. So that is how F5 ASM will prevent. I will do all these things in the lab. Behavior analysis, board signature database. We have a signature database also there in your ASM. So in this whole topic, which I covered today, this was the base of your ASM. So when I talk about whole agenda of this course, these are the modules which we'll be covering. This is just a basics, detailed one I'll show you. So we'll be covering your security, OWASP top 10, deployment methods, how ASM works, how to create layer 7 policies, attack signature management. All things will be done via lab plus theory part. DOS attack, board protection, high availability. Then we have different other terms also which will come into picture. So course content, if I talk about course content, I'll show you the course content in 1 minute, just 1 minute. Because when I talk about course content, so you need to understand how your course looks like, what will be covered. So that is the thing. Since this is the first class, I wanted to cover that also, like which modules which we will be covering today, tomorrow, next weekend, so that you are ready accordingly. Just 1 minute, I'll showing you that. This is the course content which will I'll be covering in this whole content. In this whole content, what I'll be covering is I'll be covering your around 20 modules. First, setting up your request. Now, first topic which we'll be covering is setting up your big IP system. Like I will be covering this from a scratch, like identifying the big IP, setting up the big IP. Then we will be covering your traffic processing. So today I have covered initial introduction of how ASM works. And we understood the HTTP request flow when traffic comes to WAF, how it analyzes. But we'll go more into detail. If someone tells you to deploy 10 applications on WAF, I need to protect my 10 critical application inside ASM, you should know that. So we will be covering different traffic processing objects. When I talk about traffic projects, in that we will be seeing virtual server, pool, pool members. Then we have profile sections, local traffic policy. That all will be covered in detailed here. After that, your main concept comes about your web application, where we'll be covering about whole web application layer, how request comes, how it is processed, basically web layer, database, and application layer. Then we'll be covering your layer 7 security. Layer So in this case, we will be covering your layer 7 security. Then we will cover whole HTTP request and response structure, like what is file type, what is URL, what is parameter. And we will see that labs to Fiddler tool. Now, fourth module, which we'll talk about is vulnerabilities, OWASP top 10. That is main component about OWASP top 10 attacks. After that, we'll be covering security policy deployment. When we talk about positive model, how it works, negative security model, how to assign a layer 7 security policy to your virtual server. After that, we'll be defining working on attack signatures. What are the security checks offered by different templates? Then we will be covering policy fine tuning and violations, like how threats, what are threats, what are violation, how the rating is decided. Some are critical attacks, some are medium attacks. How WAF will detect which are critical, which are small attacks, which are medium. Then we will define enforcement mode. By default, WAF would be placed in your transparent mode. Once 7 days or 15 days are completed, we will place WAF in blocking mode. Then we will cover attack signatures and threat campaign. How to, what is attack signatures? What are the basics of attack signature? How to create user-defined attack signatures? All this will be covered in your 7th module. Then we'll talk about positive security model. Initially, WAF works at negative security model. Here we'll talk about enforcement. Like we need to allow few URLs, few file types, few parameters. How F5 learns different URLs. I talked about learning engine. That is a unique feature which is provided by WAF. How it learns the traffic. What are the components you need to enable it? Each learning score will have learning suggestions, will have learning score. Then we will see cookie tempering attack. How F5 ASM will protect from cookies. Now different login and reporting for compliance and reporting. If some attacks are coming, someone says that I want to see last 7 days, what are the top 10 attacks which came into picture? Then we will see parameter. Nowadays, if you see when you enter parameter, it should be alphanumeric or your password should be strong. That all comes under WAF. There are static parameters, there are dynamic parameters. Then we will see automatic policy building. So you can deploy your layer 7 policies manual also and automatic way also. Then how to integrate with VAPT tool. So what is VAPT tool? VAPT tool is nothing but basically every website you want to do VAPT for your every application to understand what are the attacks which are happening, what are the vulnerabilities which are present, and how to mitigate that. So let's say you done a POC for one of the application, you have placed WAF. So how to test whether WAF is working properly or not? So there is a concept called POC. In that, before WAF is placed, they will do a PAPT of your web application. That will say that there are 10 vulnerabilities in your application. Now, once WAF is placed, then how many vulnerabilities are there? If there are 0 vulnerabilities, means my WAF is successful. I can deploy in my production environment. Then we will see Brute force attack, login enforcement attack, different attacks, credential stuffing, layer 7 DDoS with session tracking. So here we will see TPS bait detection. Someone wants to overutilize the server. See, server is working fine, but people have problem in that website. They want to make it busy so that no one can access that website. That is called DOS attack or DDoS attack. How F5 detect the attack and how it can mitigate. So here we will understand both behavior and stress-based analysis. Then board defense, where I was talking about good board, bad boards, how it can provide. So there is a feature called board defense. It's a separate topic which we'll be covering it. And after that, we will see some labs and then API security. And F5 has a new component in market, which is termed as WAP. So WAP is nothing, but it's a cloud-based solution for F5, which is called WAP, Web Application Firewall plus API security. So we will be also understanding how API works and how it secures it. And last, I'll be taking your interview sessions and some troubleshooting concepts which are left. So this was all about today. Now I'll unmute you all if you have questions for today's session.